comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those barbecues you plan in detail for your family? Or your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
My dad was a farmer, and when I saw him on a horse, the guy was bigger than life. One of the things that he had a hard time doing was showing the emotion. Maybe it was because the way he was raised, or believing that men provide and they don't struggle. But we all struggle. I want to show emotion to my kids. I want them to know when I'm happy, I want them to know when I'm sad, and I want them to see me working through things. The biggest reward I get from being a dad is watching my kids accomplish a goal, watching them light up. Nothing brings a bigger smile to my face. So I make my kids a priority. Whether it's hitting a baseball, a dance rehearsal, you name it, I'm there. They're gonna remember that they grew up loved. Be brave. Be there every day. And allow your kids to know that it's okay to struggle. That even dad doesn't know the answer sometimes, but we're gonna figure it out together.
If I could go back and change it all, I would. I think I'm gonna miss you the most. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Or maybe it's just the little moments. If I could go back and change it all. If I could go back, I would. But I can't.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mind of a Man. I'm your host, Elder James Jones. My co-host, Tobie, he's under the weather right now. Lift my brother up in prayer. But all things being wonderful and great in our lives, we still here on this planet. We have a wonderful guest. We have still a part 2 of about men and their vulnerability of being promiscuous, I like to say, or in other words, in a better way, cheating. Do we all do it? Or is it just some men? Or is it just particular individuals? But Miss T. Marie gonna introduce herself to us so we can kick this shindig off and have a great time here and really get to a wonderful discussion that a lot of people have in closed rooms, but we don't have out in the open. And it's very important as being not only male and female, but human beings that we have discussions that affect not only individuals, but family, people. And they can do a lot of damage to people. So no further ado, Miss Tim Marie, welcome to Mind of a Man. Introduce yourself to everyone, please.
First of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I like how you cleaned that up about me and being promiscuous. You know, you rolled around the whole cheating thing, but you know, whatever. We'll go with that. But for those who don't know me, my name is T. Marie. I am a dating coach and a relationship coach as well. I am the author of the book called No More Boyfriends. Also, that movement is called No More Boyfriends. It teaches you how to date intentionally and on purpose. So that's my spiel. I've been doing media for years. I've been a media personality. And so I'm not new to the camera. I'm not new to the discussions. I'm not new to this controversy. So when I was asked to come, I was like, count me in. Let's have this conversation.
Well, you know, I enjoy having these kind of conversations because they can be very candid. What they don't say is you get to peek inside people's personalities and why they're doing what they're doing. And for some who do it, they sit there and justify it. But let us take us back from the beginning. When we first see someone that intrigues us, incites us, that says, wow, this individual is beautiful. But as I thought about the subject, I was like, you know, we always get on the men, but we very seldom see the insight of when women flip the script and are doing it, right? And so I want to know the real reason, because I said to my co-host and to my producer right there, I said, I'm going to disagree with you. I think there's something there. I think they're going out looking for something. And one said, it's the hunt. I said, no, I believe that it's something there that they're missing, that they're going to look for, right? They can have 90% of everything they have at home and don't want to leave that. But I believe, and I want your perspective, they're out there looking for something that they think they can get from the other individual.
Right. Well, I do believe that men and women cheat for two entirely different reasons. I do believe when it comes to men cheating, it's two things. It's either unfulfillment or there's a greed or insecurity. Like, men do things to feel a way, right? To for their egos and to build those type of things. And so that's why if they sleep with a person, it doesn't necessarily count as anything. You know what I'm saying? They can sleep with them and be gone because it's not filling an emotional void like it is for women. So when men are cheating, normally, most of the times, I would agree and say it's something missing, especially if it's in a relationship, right? If it's in a marriage and the marriage has been there a long time. But you also have men who are cheating just because of their own insecurities, and they need their number count, or they need to feel like something, and being able to get this woman whenever they feel like it, feels an insecurity or feels a void that's actually within themselves. And, you know, so when they're out doing it, they really feel like it's nothing because they don't think they're hurting anybody, but they don't understand they're actually taking the risk of damaging the person that they're with. They don't understand the repercussions of when they cheat.
Okay, so I love that. So it leads me to my next segue. I want to know, why do some women stay and know about the other woman? That's what I think just it blows my mind. It just blows my mind.
Again, so oftentimes that has a lot to do with time and investment, right? If it's a marriage, a woman who has invested time, resources, money, or whatever into that marriage. That's her marriage, and she's not willing to just throw it away because of another woman, right? She has decided to live with that, with that choice that she's making, because she has invested so much, and she rather just stay in that situation rather than leave and start over, right? I don't understand it, but I do understand not wanting to give up something that you have invested in so long with. And we have to understand, marriage is different than being in a boyfriend-girlfriend situation. Right. There's a total different commitment there. There's things that we have. The bond is totally different. There's a covenant that's there. So that right there is a total different bond when you involve marriage in that. And to up and leave is not always that woman's first choice. She's connected to you mentally, physically, and emotionally. And so just jumping up and being like, I'm out, is not always the answer for some women. So they're willing to stay through it, even through knowing that there is somebody else. Would I do that? Absolutely not. But there's some voids that, again, some women have, and it's normally a void that allow these women to stay way past the expiration date.
That reminds me of having a stone in your shoe while you're walking. I don't know how long you're gonna walk like that, but
I can't. Like, as soon as I feel the pebble, it's gotta go. Like, I can't do it. But there's a fulfillment that you have to be able to walk away from something that you have been committed to for so long. You've invested in so long, and oftentimes women are just willing to either give it another chance, or they're just like, you know what? Just let them do what they're gonna do. I'm gonna do this, and I'm just gonna let that be what it's gonna be.
But I think it's very sad, because I think about the emotional or the spiritual part, but what really gets me is the aspect of, is there a spiritual part to there? You know, is this particular person, because I bring that up because very few people want to tread on that particular area and really don't want to open up those can of worms. But you're saying a vow in front of everyone, and then you got the litigated gall to bring up God in the matter.
Right.
And then swear by it, and then soon as it gets hot in the kitchen, you feel as though I'm going to revert back to my old ways before I met you, but you don't think that she's not noticing the change. But I wanted to bring up the woman because we here in the ATL, we see that a lot of women, they as they say, they can run that game better than the men can run the game. And I've never seen, at the end of the day, what is the real purpose? Because I said to someone this very important thing. I said, when we watch all the movies and we see the player, at the end of the movie, what we always see is this one important thing. They want one person. It boils, after all the playing that they done did and hurt people, at the end, they really just want one person. And I said to myself, wow, if we can look back and look at frames of the damage you have done, it's like taking a semi and running it through a crowd of people and just leaving the bodies there and then just say, hey, I'm sorry.
Right. And I just don't think that when there's no consideration taken when people do what they do, right? Oftentimes it has a lot to do with selfishness. And let's be clear about a cheater, okay? A cheater didn't just start cheating when he got with you or when she got with you. This is a pattern that this cheater has had since, he's began his sexual, activities. And I can promise you, before they got married, she was cheated on. Because these habits did not just come about all of a sudden. We get in this whole thing thinking if we get married, that's going to change things. Marriage doesn't change anything. It just enhances what's already there. And what we have to understand is what's already there, you can't change anyway. Only a person that decides that what their behavior, that they don't like their behavior, that's the only person that's going to change. And most times people like who they are. They like who they are. And you can't change a person who likes who they are. They see nothing wrong with what they do. And so no matter what hurt it brings, no matter what damage it brings, and no matter the cost, they're willing to stay in who they are just to be filled. And that's a sense of selfishness that they have always had, even prior to them getting married or the relationship.
We played out in a movie called A Best Man. and it was okay until it really was his best man. Right. But it wasn't his wife. It wasn't his fiance. It was just, he met her and he liked her, and then somebody got to her before he did. And it just blew his mind that it was his friend. I see that a lot of people who go down this emotional trail, do they ever really recover even though they move on?
There is a lot of internal damage, and there's a lot of insecurity that comes with having somebody cheat on you. You never feel like you're good enough. You never feel like who you were was enough. You start to feel like, these things that make you feel like that you were just played. Like, and you have to understand, feeling like that you weren't enough, that's a real hard and disheartening way to feel. And you take that into your next relationship too. It can be that you can get over it, but you have to work at it. And it's unfortunate that someone did that damage to you, but you're the one that has to pull yourself up out of the muck. My best advice to doing that, though, is remembering who you are, who you were, and who you know God created you to be. And you have to continue to say these things to yourself, and you have to do therapy, and you have to remember that it's not your fault that this guy cheated on you, even if there were some missing pieces and some missing parts, because men love to come and say, well, it was your fault because I wasn't getting this and I wasn't getting that. And so we have to go back to the conversation. One, why weren't you getting it? Two, were you not getting it before? Was like, is this who I was prior to we got married, to right. who you married? And did you think I was going to be something different? Right. Or when right. you started to have these, this unfulfillment, did you have that discussion with me? Like, we're not adult enough to solve problems. We're always avoiding conflict. We're always, not wanting to look anybody in the mirror and be like, look, we need to talk. And until right. we become adults, we're not going to be able to resolve this type of conflict, because most marriages can be saved, right, if right. we're honest, right, and we do the work.
Well, you said a key piece there.
Yeah, honest, right. Yeah. If we're honest, but not honest only with our partner, with ourselves, because we lie to ourselves a lot. We right. honestly lie to ourselves a lot to either justify what we're doing or to justify why we do it. You know what I'm saying? We lie to ourselves, or we even do it to hold no accountability, or just to, make it just look like, hey, we got it all together. And we're not very honest with ourselves. So if you're not honest with yourself, there's no way you could be honest with your partner.
So do you think these people, and I'm using it as a whole, but do you think they really ever knew themselves? Because when people go into relationships, I'm finding out now that most people do not know who they really are.
Absolutely.
They say they do, no, but the fruit they producing or the actions they're doing shows something totally different. Yeah. And it makes me wonder, I was like, do you really know yourself? Do you really, you go in there, you say you like something, but as life moves on, people change and situations do too. But who were you when you first got there? Right. Because most of them are not telling the truth because they don't know. I found that a lot of the cheaters, they have either daddy issues or mommy issues or both. Some of them that get married, they want a woman to be in charge because
they feel neglected, they feel uncovered, and they feel, to be honest, vulnerable, and they need somebody or something to come in and fill those vices. And no, they don't know themselves. And when I'm taking on a client or when I'm doing a coaching session, we don't even talk about another person until we've had a discussion about you. You need to understand why you feel the way you feel. What type of relationships have you seen? What was your childhood like? What were your likes? Why do you want to be in a relationship? Do you understand that the relationship is not about you? See, oftentimes I get in talks with people and it's about what they can get out of the relationship, not what they can put into the relationship. Right. And I say, hey, this is what I want you to know. The relationship is all about what you can give. Right. And that's the same thing with the other partner. So if you guys keep giving to each other, nobody goes without. If you're trying to take, and somebody else is, if you're a taker and the other person's a giver, you're going to deplete that person completely, right? So you have to be careful who you partner with. Like, is this person a giver? They have to be, or they're not going to be a good partner.
So why don't we get this information from the start? I tell people, if I'm teaching, let's say in the church, we do not talk about real relationships in the body of Christ. We all are Christians, but we don't talk about, we got married, but he's carrying baggage. And then you forget the scriptures that everybody he done slept with, he's carrying a piece of it. But yet you hiding because you don't want to really bring that to the surface and say, hey, dude, you was a real player, and you left bodies everywhere, and it's not good. And you think it's cute because someone shows you some tension, and you would like to creep out there, but this is not healthy. Why don't we talk about these issues at the real level? Because my next question to you was going to be about how many of these people are Christians? I mean, really, who profess to be Christians, who actually go to the church or not, or watch it online? How many of these people really are Christians that are really
I think
damaged?
the church does a disservice when it comes to relationships and coaching, when it comes to marriage counseling. I'm not sure how real they actually get, because they want to keep it holy. What they got to remember is that God is an honest God. There's a way to say to keep it real and holy, right? You understand what I'm saying? And these are real situations. God sees them. You know what I'm saying? So why can't we talk about them? And now there's a way to present anything, you know, the way to say it, the way to bring it up. But you got to understand that this is real, and we can't tiptoe around it. And so we really have to have a real discussion about our vices and what we've been through. And you really need to have these one-on-ones with them individually about, let's talk about your life, your background, and honestly, and then make those people feel like that they can say whatever. They could say they were molested. They could say I was promiscuous. They could say, whatever, I was abused, whatever they need to say in order to really deal with the reasons why they do the things that they do. So I think as a church, we need to have real conversations in our singles ministries and our marriage ministries. Not only that what we're doing is godly and holy, right? But it's also real. It's real right there in your face, and we have to have real solutions. And I think people think that scripture, which it does, solves all things, but scripture also can apply to real life situations that you need to say out loud.
Right. I always say this: we failed at discipleship.
Oh yeah.
I don't care what denomination. I don't know. Like I told them, I've taken enough courses and in school. Your 10 and 16 weeks is not cutting it. But people actually want you. What I'm finding is actually want you to walk out with them their particular situations, for them to say, now I'm encouraged, I'm bold enough to say, this is what it is. They're not receiving that. And so we're losing them by the droves, and they're being hurt outside because it's the old switch and bait. I'm going to talk Christian so you can like me. I'm going to dress up so you can like me. I make sure I work and look presentable, but meanwhile, I'm going to damage you emotionally. And then by the time the smoke clear, it's like I invested time, money, and energy. And like you said, some of them go back, and it's like, don't go back. It's like watching a horror movie. It's like, don't go back. Don't go back in there. And they're like, well, he was good. Now they start justifying. He was good here. He makes money. He wasn't really that bad. It was just a one-time thing. She trapped him.
Even the church, if you're in the church, can be responsible for the way you think like that, because they want you to work. They want you to work in all forgiveness, right? And as you should. Yeah. But you also have to work in the fact that God will release you, especially from cheating, for infidelity. Like that's been said. Like obviously the damage is so damaging that God said, look, you hang through anything, but this infidelity, you can go ahead and bounce. You know what I'm saying? And so we got to think about, when we're telling our people to stay together, to stop doing it for saving face. Because oftentimes we're telling people to stay so you can save face, right? And we're doing a disservice to those people, because we're continuing to add damage to them in the name of saving face, and thinking that we're protecting God or showing God upright when we do that, and that's just not so.
Well, you know, I would say this, Ms. Marie. There's a part two to this that people don't rarely talk about, and that's about let's slide them babies up in there. Let's slide them babies up in there, because then we're gonna stay for the babies.
Right.
We're gonna stay for the babies.
So many people.
We're gonna catch it all, but we're gonna save for the babies, and that's our reason. Our mindset is really messed up because of the fear that they might grow up in a way that they might have seen that is unhealthy, and so they stay.
But you stay for the babies, but you don't correct your behavior for the babies. And y'all so crazy that y'all think that the babies can't tell what's going on. So now you're teaching this baby, if it's a girl, whoever's getting damaged, to accept the same behavior. And then you're teaching the son to do the same behavior. So you're not staying, if you're staying for the babies, you're not helping the babies. What's healthy for the babies is to see two parents who just maybe it didn't work out, be able to co-parent and treat each other with kindness and grace and love in spite of not being together, so they can realize that no matter what goes on, kindness, love, and patience and grace existed between my mom and dad.
Right. So why do we have family members who we try to help or save, for a better word, and tell them that this relationship is unhealthy, but yet they stay there? I don't get it, because let's just say, with all your knowledge, Miss Marie, you have a family member who's like, "Sweetie, I do this for a living. Why are you doing this?" And he's like, I don't know. I just love him. I'm like, that 4-letter word is abused so bad. Lord, I don't even know how I wish
I had some more time, because I can tell you how I feel about that 4-letter word when it comes to, especially the dating part of it. But we can't take for granted why God created sex and the bond that it's made to be. When we have sex, when we're connected in that intimacy, God created that so that we can stay connected to our partner, our husband, our spouse. So anything done outside the realm of what it was created for is normally damaging. You know, you're misusing it. Right. Yeah, you can do it, but you're actually misusing it. So people literally don't know why they can't leave, but you have created that bond and you don't even know why. Exactly. And it's the same reason why teenagers are out of their minds when they're having these, you see all these abusive teenage relationships, and it's because they're already dealing with who they are as a teenager, right? Their emotions and mental. You put sex in the mix and they don't know, you know what I'm saying, what's going on. And so again, another tool that's been mishandled out of its natural use will always cause some type of damage and frustration. And so here we are trying to figure out why, not understanding we have created an unhealthy, ungodly covenant, actually, within the means of sex. Right. And so now here we are not understanding why we can't leave. Because what God created to keep us together won't allow us to leave.
Exactly. I agree, especially with the when we want to talk about spiritual and the bond that's there, and he says it so well in the Bible that, you know, this is not something that you just do on a whim. This is not something that your emotions just say, "Hey, I want to do this." No, there's some repercussions coming behind. It might feel good for that time, but there's something coming behind it. And if you cannot handle it, it's going to be a monster. I don't know
why he didn't put the warning label. Unless I missed it in the Bible, I'm like, God, you should have put a warning label on sex, because people do not understand what that connection was meant for. You know, it's just, listen, this can take you out. Like, it ain't no joke. You know, this ain't what you want in the wrong place. You know what I'm saying? So it's really hard really bad that we, you know, I always think about the conversations I had with my mom when it came to sex and the reality of it. And it was the conversation was, "Hey, Mom, you know, my friends are having sex. You know, what if I have sex?" My mama's answer was, "You're not. Period." I'm like, wait, what? That's not what I'm doing. She's like, "No, have sex. Like, I'm like, well, you think I should get on birth control just in case? And she would not let me on birth control. She said, because for her, that would give me permission to actually have sex.
Exactly.
So I never was. And I was in college before I had my first encounter. So it's just kind of like those things that I think need to, especially now, have to be explained more. But guess what? The parents not even in condition to do these explanations because they have no idea. So,
well, I think by now, some of them have an inkling. But this is the thing. I don't want you to know about my sin. Because then I have to, because you're going to start questioning. And the more you start questioning, people are like, really, Mom?
Well,
really?
I can give you all
like that? You got out there like that?
I can give you all them details, but what I can tell you is that based on certain experiences myself, right, I can tell you why it's just not a good idea. And we have to be able to be open and have these conversations with our kids. Like we have to, especially in a time where the music talks about nothing but sex, when the TV is showing nothing but sex, when the environment of all our kids ain't got nothing to do but sex, when everything is sex. You really have to talk to your kids about what's out there and honestly about that. And so if we're not, we're going to do a disfavor.
Yeah, I always say this. If you're not going to teach them,
the world will absolutely teach them.
And they're going to teach them very, as we used to say, raw. It's going to be, it's going to be like in your face, and you're going to learn the rough way.
People don't care. We can't think people care about our kids or us the way we do. You know what I'm saying? And we think avoidance is the answer. And we have to start learning how to face things head on, like, listen, I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk about this, but we're going to have to, and it could be a matter of life and death, just to be honest with you.
Yeah, because their friends are talking about it. They done watched it on TV. Their friends are talking about it. They're talking about their experience with it. I think the sad part about it is that the body of Christ has not gotten out ahead and say, look, we're going to have to really be honest about some things. The world is teaching them some things that are unhealthy. And this is the part about it. God says, what are you hiding for? Because you got to come out of them four walls. You're coming out. Like it or not, you're coming out. I need you to do what you're built to do and quit acting like you're scared. I need you to be who you said you're going to be. Don't try to fit in with everyone else because you're not part of that world. And the only thing you're going to do is get shamed, hurt, and maimed, and then sent back. And you're like, I should have listened. I wish, and I hate him. I was like, no, don't hate him. That's
you can hate somebody for being who they are. And we have a tendency to want to blame, like that person played their part. They did exactly what they were, who they were. You knew who you were. Right. Don't put yourself in those positions to where you have to fight that battle. Don't do it. You see it, you recognize it. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
Right. Don't go down that road. So it was a hard thing. Miss Marie, to watch family members, and for young men, our frontal lobes don't develop until we're 25. And by the time we do turn 25, we still ain't up in the game. Y'all done played Barbies and played house at 5 and 7. Y'all got the game down pat.
Right.
We just trying to get out of high school, make it into college. It was like, we need a job so we can make a living. My frontal lobe ain't developed enough to really have that kind of relationship that a lot of young ladies want or need. And then you get yourself caught up, and it's like what Eddie Murphy said, okay. I'm just going to go with it now because I don't know any better.
And
I didn't heard some foolishness from somebody.
The unfortunate part of that's the reason why we had mom and dad. We should have had a mother and a father to guide us through those things. So only a man can teach a man how to be a man, and only a woman can teach a woman how to be a woman. And when we come to developing things within us, who we are, and we don't have, let's just say we don't have a father, you at least should need to have have a father figure if you have a son, if you have a
Right.
daughter. But you should have that figure somewhere in your life that can be the advisory to that person as a man to do and not do. You know what I'm saying? And same thing as if a
Right.
man is around and there's no mother for the kid, you should have a woman that's there to be able to advise and talk and nurture this child the way they need to, the way a woman should. You know what I'm saying? So there's two sides of the coin that every child needs. But then there's an identifiable side for a son that he needs a father.
Right. Hey, we used to say, take him to the mother of the church. She get him
Lord.
right.
All she do is scare us to darn death. I'm telling you. But you was going straight
Like,
to hell.
you
You'd be like, what? What's going on?
You'd be like, you gonna sit here and you be gonna pray until that demon come out.
Demon just get tired.
And we're gonna lay
Yeah,
hands.
demon be tired like I'm out. Okay, I'm gonna see y'all. Y'all can have this. We through.
So Miss Marie, what is the most important thing that if you can name one thing to say to your client, what is the pinnacle that you want your client to know?
Themselves. It is always themselves. Know who you are, create those standards and boundaries, and don't deter from them. There's going to be things that I tell people that you're willing to maybe accept. And those are normally some superficial parts. Like he may not be as tall or may not be as whatever, as handsome, small, big, or whatever. Those are things that you can adjust, right? But when it comes to character, when it comes to morals, when it comes to the way they do things, the way they love their family, those are the telltale signs of a person. And when you see those things, right? Recognize them for what they are.
Right.
And then knowing yourself and knowing what you're dating for. That's it. So if you're dating for intentional purposes, there's no need for you to entertain a person who's casually dating, who's already told you they don't want to be married,
Right.
who's already told you, let's just go with the flow. Like that is your cue to just be to the left. Like there's no need to continue to entertain. We get caught up in entertaining because we're lonely or we just want to do something to do, or we're okay with testing the waters. Well, maybe if I just do it for a little bit until the next one comes, then this won't bother. But when you know yourself and you've decided what it is that you want for yourself, I tell people all the time, it's just like weight loss. When you've decided you want to lose 10 pounds, you set up the standards to do what you need to do to lose those 10 pounds, okay? And if that's what you really want, then you're going to have the discipline, the mindset, and the adoration for yourself to be like, this is what I want. I'm going to do the work to do it so that I can get the reward.
Well, let's say I'm going to take me for an example. I'm going to use me. So you said that, and I'm just going to go with the flow. Yeah, I believe you might be the one for me, and I'm going to come in. I'm just going to agree with that, right? Because I'm going to go along to get along, right? And until I want to see where this road want to take me. I'm not sure, but I'm going to go down this road with you for right now. If I don't like what I see, I jump ship. So how would they, when you put those boundaries up, do most of your clients understand or know when the bell go off, like on their GPS and say, you need to bust this U-turn?
Redirect. Yeah, like, U-turn, yes. So I tell people, because, they're like, well, what if he says he wants to be married, right? And what if I say, we're going to take two samples here. What if he says he wants to be married? Okay, two things here. One thing, you ask him, is he ready to be married? Because if he's ready to be married, right, then he's going to be able to tell you, I'm ready to be married. I'm set up to be married. Okay. And then also, if you're ready to be married, and I'm the one, when do you see yourself getting married? Okay. Because this is what you got to figure out. He's got to figure out if you're the one, right? That's usually for a man, really, that's about good 6-8 months. And men know quickly, right? So if I'm the one, right?
Right.
When would you want to get married? And he'd be like, within a year, 2 years. All right, great. If you keep rolling down that road and 6-8 months is coming, up to a year, you haven't heard this man say that he you all are even talking marriage minded at all, that's your GPS. That is your GPS to be like, yeah, either I'm not the one, and women don't understand. A man, it doesn't make a man a bad person if he doesn't want to marry you. You just may not be the one, right? You just may not be the one. But you got to recognize that. That means you don't start doing all this marriage wife stuff in the midst of courting. And that's what happens. You get caught up in all this, doing all this wife stuff while you court because you preparing like he's already chosen you. So you want to show. No.
Right.
If he chooses you, he's choosing you based on your character, how you fit into his life, the way, you guys, whatever y'all's goals are together, if they mesh, right? That's what he's looking at.
Right.
And it may not be that it works, but you don't need to be ironing, cooking, cleaning, giving him all your resources and all that stuff because he said he wanted to be married. You don't do all that. Don't do all that because he will take it.
All right.
He will absolutely take it.
Yep.
Right? He's not going to refuse it, but it doesn't mean he's going to marry you either.
That's right.
So be smart.
Right. Because I heard today some spicy stuff, I like to say. And the brother came across like, look, you invested all that and he was hurting you. He's going to deplenish you until you're broken.
Right.
And then one thing a man doesn't want is a broken woman. So now you're no more good to him. You're damaged. And the lesson, he said it very good. He said, and the man learned the lesson from that too. He learned he didn't want a broke woman, right? And he also learned that you are a good woman, but it wasn't for him. You weren't for him. He was for someone else. So what you did was prepared him for his wife. And when I heard that, I was shocked in some ways, and I was like, in other ways, I was like, yeah, that is very true. What you just did was prepared him for his future wife.
I wish I could stay on. I really have to go. I wish I could. I'll say this. This is what I will say. I don't know if you prepared him for his wife, but he did use you to find out what he didn't want, right? He used you because the problem here was he didn't do the work to find out what he wanted before he got into the relationship. So when he got with you, you were a trial and error, right? And so these are questions and conversations that you should have. Well, do you know what you're looking for? Like, do you know what you want? Right. And what, and I don't want to say what type of person, but what would your partner look like for you? You know what I'm saying? Would you say they're financially stable? Right. Do you feel like, whatever? Those are real conversations because at the end of the day, we got to understand marriage is not just about love. Love is the icing, right? The ingredients is the trust and all that other stuff. And we keep bringing love to the party and to the cake, trying to make the cake with no salt, no flour, no batter, no milk or whatever. So we just going to make a whole icing cake and get a stomach ache, right? Because now we bought all this love and ain't no substance there. Now we got all this stomach ache. So we have to do the ingredients. We have to, whatever those things are to make a solid, standing, good looking cake, right? That's when you take love because now you can trust them. Now they got your back. Now they have the character. Now they have all these other things. And so now you got their frosting, which is the covering because you're covering them because you can. We got to understand love is a covering. And when it's put on things, you will cover stuff that you had no business covering and it will keep you there. Because it'll keep it covered. Right. So we don't bring love to the party. I tell people, don't even bring love to the date. We know you're a loving person. We know you got it in your heart. But when you go out, leave it at home. Put it in the shelf. Right. And dating becomes a thing, a balance of the logic and the heart, because of your character. But don't bring love to the party. Don't bring love to the party, baby. Leave love at home until you find out that this is the person, right? Until you find out that this is the person you can actually trust, that has your back, that you can be vulnerable with, that has accountability. Then you can bring love to the party.
All right. Well, Miss Marie, I know you're on a time crunch. You have the last word. Let us have it.
First of all, again, thank you for having me. And I really appreciate this.
Here.
My word is for everybody is to know yourself first. And I feel so deeply about that, because when you know yourself, then you also know what you're willing to accept and what you're willing to deal with and what you're willing to put up with. What you like, what you don't like, what your love language is. These are things you need to discover before you even start getting out there. If not, you'll be playing this guessing game along the way, and you'll be continue to go through partner after partner after partner, trying to discover who you were when you should have did that prior to starting to get into the dating game.
Amen. Well, we appreciate you,
Thank
Miss Marie. I wish I'd have had that advice.
Me too. Me too.
I wish I'd have had that advice almost 35, 40 years ago. But I'm married. Good. And all my children are adults. So I've been married for about 26 years. Feel like more like 30, but I love her to pieces. That's who God gave me, and I can say that without a quiver of a doubt. But for those who do not know, I think that's a solid word to know that is I will tell you, Miss Marie, that is a task, because if you don't know where to start and how to start to know who you really are, you're going through the motions and trying to do life blind. So God created a masterpiece in all of us. It is up to us to find that masterpiece that he has for us, our gifts, our talents, and our passion, but really the purpose of why you're here. Let us bless one another. Let us go and enjoy life, because most of us don't. We don't understand how the other half of the world lives. I've been to some of those countries. It is definitely not like the Western culture here in America. We are blessed beyond belief, financially, spiritually, and everything in between. So never take life for granted. Hug somebody, kiss somebody, call up someone that you haven't seen in a while. We thank you. We praise God for you.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. Even though we are one of the most food-rich countries in the world, 15 million children don't know where their next meal is coming from. This is unacceptable, and something the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks is working to solve. Instead of accepting that our country lets billions of pounds of surplus food go to waste every year, Feeding America has made it their mission to help families in need by rescuing this food. Through food pantries and meal programs, the nationwide network of food banks provides more than 3 billion meals, serving virtually every community in the United States, including yours. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank by visiting feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
In 4 days. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children. She didn't know what to do.
Did you have a good day at school?
She gave them some broth without any bread.
There you go.
And kissed them all soundly.
Night night.
Good night. And put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.